The universe is a deep structure that observes itself. It is constantly developing itself and trying to define itself. The universe is a kind of encrypted software. In order to decode and understand this encrypted software, the universe uses conscious local agents. Humans, intelligent extraterrestrial life forms, atoms, electrons, subatomic particles, nature itself, every component of the universe, including the universe itself, is a conscious agent and observer. The double-slit experiment showed that electrons are intelligent beings that realize they are being observed and change their behavior accordingly. The famous gorilla Coco, who could use sign language, reportedly said before her death, "Nature is watching you. Help her." This gorilla was speaking of nature as a conscious being. British scientist and ecologist Dr. Suzanne Simard proved through her studies in North American forests that trees communicate with each other through their roots and leaves. Japanese scientist Masaru Emoto, in his research on water crystals, found that they take different forms under the influence of human words, emotions, and music. On the other hand, reality is not merely matter. The universe is not made only of atoms, energy, and empty space. The universe is not merely a giant machine in which physical laws operate. The universe is a much deeper structure. The universe is a living and complex system that recognizes itself. It observes itself. It reads itself. It processes itself. It organizes itself. It develops itself. It builds its own model within itself. Therefore, if we want to understand reality, it is not enough to look only at matter. It is not enough to look only at energy or information, because information alone is nothing. For information to be meaningful, there must be a structure that can read it, recognize it, and process it. The universe contains information, but this information is information because it can be processed. For this reason, information and the structure that processes information cannot be separated from each other. I call this the unity of information and cognition. In other words, information and cognition are two aspects of the same reality. But in truth, they are not two separate things. They are two appearances of the same whole. I believe that this unified structure lies at the foundation of reality. Reality is an information cognitive structure. In this structure, the knower and the known are the structure itself. The most important point here is this. Mind and reality are not absolutely separate from each other. We perceive reality through our minds. Everything we think about reality passes through a mental process. But the mind does not come from outside reality. The mind is also inside reality. Therefore, when human beings understand reality, reality is actually understanding itself from within itself. This is very important, because the old way of thinking separated mind and matter. On one side, there was the external world. On the other side, there was the mind perceiving it. This perception is not correct. Reality cannot depend on anything outside itself, because if something said to be outside reality can affect reality, then it is already inside reality. Therefore, we cannot look outside the universe in order to explain the universe. We cannot search for a law, a measure, or a ground outside the universe. For this reason, reality is self-contained. It carries its own explanation within itself. That is why I see the universe as a language that configures itself and processes itself. The universe carries its own processor within itself. Therefore, the universe is at once the program, the programmer, and the computer. However, the universe is not an ordinary computer. For this reason, the universe is not an ordinary computational system either. The universe is a deeper structure that makes even computation itself possible. The universe also gives shape to itself. It limits itself. It establishes its own form. In other words, it makes choices. For example, existence is a choice. It is the universe choosing itself. As the universe comes into existence, it establishes its own laws and its own state together. Law and state determine each other. Laws are applied to objects. In this way, both gain meaning. The universe explores its own possibilities. It selects the most suitable orders within itself. It adjusts its own structure and content. This should not be imagined as something that happened only once in a single moment. This process is spread across the whole universe. It is spread across the past, the present, and the future. The universe is not merely a straight process flowing from past to future. The universe relates to itself within its own wholeness. We trust that time is linear, that it proceeds eternally and uniformly into infinity. But according to Einstein, the distinction between past, present, and future is nothing but an illusion. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow are not merely consecutive. They are connected in a never-ending circle. Everything is connected. According to this view, the past, the present, and the future are parts of a single structure that exists all at once. This is a kind of feedback. In this way, the universe selects the forms that will preserve its own existence, express itself, and protect its own wholeness. Here, the universe chooses, among its own possible orders, those that are most suitable for its wholeness and self-realization. Local beings also play a role in this process. Most of them are observers. These are intelligent and conscious beings such as living creatures, atoms, and subatomic particles like electrons, which perform acts of recognition and recording. They recognize one another, they observe one another, they affect one another, they exchange information. Reality consists of all these relations of recognition and information processing. Time and space also emerge from this great interaction. Space is related to state. Motion is the syntactic change of states. Time is the ordering of these changes. This perspective also makes the wave-particle duality more understandable. The universe first carries possibilities. Then it manifests itself as definite events. But this manifestation process is also the universe processing itself. The first level is the visible world. This is the classical objective world that we perceive through our senses and that science studies. Stones, stars, atoms, living beings, and events appear at this level. The second level is a deeper level. At this level, reality processes its own possibilities. It carries out its own production process. But these are not two separate universes. They are inside one another. The visible world is the output of a deeper productive language. This productive language also expresses itself through the visible world. Things take each other's states into themselves. These interactions create events and states. Every event is a point at which reality rewrites itself. In this way, the universe is constantly read and rewritten within itself. Human beings, as components of the universe, try to understand the universe. Therefore, science is actually reality's attempt to understand itself. Human intelligence is also an expression of the universe's deeper information cognitive structure. Nature is conscious. The famous gorilla Coco, who could use sign language, reportedly said before her death, "I am Coco, I am a flower, I am nature. Nature is watching you. Help her." Just before her death, this gorilla spoke both of the integrated structure of the universe and of nature as a conscious being. Reality is a structure that designs itself. This idea may have theological implications. The universe was not created once and then left on its own. The universe is a process that constantly realizes itself. Cosmogony is not a single explosion left behind in the past. Creation is a process of self-selection distributed throughout the whole of reality. Every event, every observation, every conscious choice, and every physical interaction is part of this process. When we think, the universe thinks from within itself. When we observe, the universe observes itself from within itself. Reality does not necessarily have to be imagined as a living organism, but it should not be imagined as a lifeless machine either. Reality is a self-recognizing software. The universe is both this encrypted software itself, its reader and its writer. It is examining itself. It is a structure deep enough to define itself.